Land was seized and redistributed to a small elite: Spanish officials, religious orders, and local collaborators. The encomienda and later the hacienda system concentrated vast tracts of land in the hands of a few families. For ordinary Filipinos, this meant generations of working land they did not own, paying rent, taxes, and tribute. From the very beginning, inequality was built into the system. Even after more than 3 centuries of Spanish rule ended, land did not return to the people. Instead, power transferred to a new ruling class. The United States took control of the Philippines at the turn of the 20th century, promising democracy and opportunity. But while political institutions changed, the economic structure largely stayed the same. The same families who owned land under Spain often found ways to keep it under American rule. The American period introduced public education and new infrastructure, which did open doors for some Filipinos. But these benefits were unevenly distributed. Education and opportunities flowed more easily to urban centres and to families who already had resources. Rural areas, where most Filipinos lived, remained poor, dependent on agriculture, and vulnerable to exploitation. By the time the Philippines gained independence after World War II, inequality was deeply rooted. A small elite controlled land, businesses, and political power. Many of these elites moved seamlessly from colonial collaboration to leadership roles in the new republic. Political dynasties began to take shape, turning public office into a family inheritance. For the average Filipino farmer, independence did not mean freedom from poverty. Land reform was promised again and again, but implementation was weak. Laws were filled with loopholes that allowed landowners to keep control. Farmers remained tenants, earning little and living with constant insecurity. This failure to seriously redistribute land is one of the biggest reasons inequality persisted. As the country urbanized, new forms of inequality emerged. Cities became magnets for opportunity, but also for hardship. Millions migrated from rural areas to Manila and other urban centers, hoping for work. Some succeeded, but many ended up in informal settlements, working unstable jobs with low pay and no protection. Meanwhile, economic growth benefited a narrow segment of society. Industries such as real estate, finance, and later business process outsourcing generated wealth, but much of it stayed at the top. The Philippines experienced periods of growth, but growth did not automatically mean better lives for everyone. One of the most defining moments in modern Philippine history was the rule of Ferdinand Marcos. When Marcos declared martial law in 1972, he promised discipline and development. What followed was a period of massive corruption and crony capitalism. Wealth was concentrated even further as Marcos and his allies took control of key industries. Public funds were siphoned into private pockets. Infrastructure projects enriched cronies while increasing national debt. Ordinary Filipinos paid the price through inflation, unemployment, and declining public services. By the time Marcos was overthrown in 1986, inequality had worsened, and the country was economically weakened. The People Power Revolution restored democracy, but it did not dismantle the structures of inequality. Many of the same families returned to power. Political dynasties remained strong, controlling local and national offices. Elections became expensive, favoring those with money and name recognition. Economic reforms in the 1990s opened the country to globalization. While this brought investment and jobs, it also increased vulnerability. Labor became more contractual, less secure. Millions of Filipinos turned to overseas work, sending money home to support families. Remittances became a lifeline for the economy, but also a sign that opportunities at home were not enough. For families with members working abroad, life improved. For those without that option, poverty often remained. This created another layer of inequality, where opportunity depended not on talent alone, but on access to networks, education, and the ability to leave the country. Education itself became a dividing line. Public schools struggled with overcrowding and lack of resources, while private schools offered better facilities and connections. A child born into a wealthy family had a far greater chance of entering top universities, landing high-paying jobs, and maintaining their social status. A child born into poverty often faced a completely different path. Healthcare showed similar gaps. Private hospitals offered world-class treatment for those who could pay, while public hospitals were overburdened and underfunded. For many Filipinos, illness meant debt, job loss, or worse. Inequality was not just about income. It was about life expectancy, dignity, and security. Corruption also played a major role. When public funds are stolen or misused, it is the poor who suffer the most. Roads go unbuilt, schools lack classrooms, and hospitals run out of supplies. Corruption deepens inequality by weakening the very institutions meant to reduce it. Regional inequality added another dimension. Metro Manila and a few other urban centres captured most of the country's wealth and development. Provinces, especially in Mindanao and other remote areas, lagged behind. Conflict, poor infrastructure, and neglect kept these regions trapped in cycles of poverty. Despite all this, Filipinos have shown resilience. Communities support each other. Families sacrifice for education. Workers endure long hours, both at home and abroad. But resilience should not be mistaken for justice. The burden of surviving inequality should not fall on the people alone. Today, the Philippines continues to grow economically, but inequality remains visible and painful. Luxury malls stand beside informal settlements. Billionaires increase their wealth while millions struggle with rising prices. The gap between rich and poor is not just wide, it is deeply felt. The story of inequality in the Philippines is not about a lack of effort or talent among its people. It is about systems that favoured a few and excluded many. It is about land that was never returned, power that was never truly shared, and policies that often protected the privileged. Understanding this history is important because inequality is not inevitable. It was created by human decisions, and it can be changed by human decisions. Land reform that truly empowers farmers, education that gives every child a fair chance, healthcare that treats dignity as a right, and governance that serves the many rather than the few. The Philippines' inequality did not appear overnight, and it will not disappear overnight either. But recognizing how it was built is the first step toward dismantling it. Behind every statistic is a human story. A farmer working land he does not own, a mother leaving her children to work abroad, a child studying under a flickering light, dreaming of a better life. These stories are not failures. They are reminders of what is at stake. The question is not whether the Philippines can reduce inequality, but whether it chooses to confront the forces that created it in the first place.